It has been known that water is an integral part of our health and it has so many benefits. But how much water is enough for you? Today we're going to discuss this using four major factors, and we're going to understand the tips, and we're going to know the tips of which it will help us take more fluids in or take more water. First of all, we have to understand that your weight carries a huge part on how much water is enough for you. You have to understand how much you weigh in kilograms, and from there you'll multiply it by 30 ml. That's the amount of fluid that you'll be required to take within 24 hours. When I say fluid, I mean plain water, I mean infused water, coffee, teas, soups, juices, and so on and so forth. However, the elderly requirement is a bit lower, on the lower side, simply because they do not excrete as much water as the normal adults and the younger ones do, which means that if you're an elderly, you multiply your weight by times 25 milliliters. So that's the first factor. The other factor that will determine your fluid requirement is the physical activity levels and exercises. Now, depending on the intensity of the exercise that you do, you will add 250 milliliters up to 500 ml, and for those with very high intensity, it can go up to 700 milliliters from your original requirements. And we also have another factor, the environment and climate factor. Now, for those who live in very hot areas, the other areas, we know that for those who live in very hot areas, you're more likely to lose or to excrete water through sweat, through expiration, compared to those who live in cold areas, which means that that water has to be replaced. And we assume that you do not stay in an air-conditioned environment or room or car at all times. And if that is so, you have to replace that water. You can add up to 200 ml or milliliters. And another factor is when you're sick. If you have a particular disease, if you're taking some medication, your fluid requirements will change. For those who are suffering diseases such as chronic kidney disease and heart disease, your doctor might advise you to decrease your fluid intake simply because your body is not able to excrete that much fluid at that particular stage of the disease. However, there are some diseases that will require you to take more water in a particular time frame. This will not go on forever. Your healthcare provider and medical doctor will be sure to address this. And there are some medications that are excreted through the urine. That means the more water and more fluid is required. That means you have to adjust accordingly as per the instruction of your pharmacist and the healthcare provider or a medical doctor. Now, we now know our fluid requirements. How are we going to take this water? Because frankly speaking, water is not that sweet, which means that it's not something that is pleasurable for most people. First of all, we have to know that this fluid requirement is for 24 hours. So you can break this water, take it at a small amount over time. And a water bottle will be very helpful because you'll be taking sips and throughout the day. Another tip that can help you take water or increase your fluid intake is that you can add a slice of lemon or cucumber or any other fruit that will help you to take in more water, because there's some people who say that it's tasteless, I don't feel like it. But if you do this, for some people it has been an absolute game changer. Another tip is that there are other fruits that do have water naturally. For example, watermelons and other fruits. That means if you take that water in, your body will also extract water from that particular food or fruits. So you can also increase your intake of such fruits. Now, water is important and fluid is important. Like as I mentioned before, water is never replaced by drinks, sugary drinks or salty drinks, simply because you just increase the dehydration instead of rehydrating your body. That means that however you, in as much as you replace other fluids with water, but plain water is still as important. Now, welcome to Serant Nutrition, where we'll continue discussing more about health factors and everything that relates to health and nutrition.